Hi everyone, I'm Gautam aka The Seeker of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation coach, and in this video, we're going to be talking about faith and how do you go about it whilst you're manifesting something, right? So, before I do so, I'd like to remind you guys I am available for coaching. I offer hourly, monthly, email, and DM coaching. The link will be in the description down below. So, you guys will be led to a coaching FAQ PDF where you have all the answers that you need. So, you can DM me for pricing via Instagram or email me for further clarification should you need to. I also have a Facebook group where I upload resources and where you can ask me questions anonymously if you wish to do so. And I also have a mailing list where I post articles from time to time, and as well as my latest offers for coaching as well. Again, all the link will be in the description down below, so be sure to check it out. So without further ado, guys, let's get to it. What led to this video was a one of you guys actually asked me what faith is for me, and so I have a suggestions, video suggestions, Google survey form, and where you can ask suggest topics for me, and basically that's where this topic came about. I think the person also mentioned something along the lines of like what faith is to them, and that is like part of it revolves around giving thanks to God and so on and so forth, and firstly, thank you for suggesting this topic to the person. I just like to say that because this is something that a lot of people tend to struggle with, especially if it's something that's of a high importance to them, right? Regardless of if you are a veteran in the manifestation community, or if you're just beginning, right? The manifestations that are mostly of like high importance to you, that's when faith really becomes sort of a challenge. Right now, is that a limiting belief? Absolutely. But again, we are all humans, and really this becomes an issue for a lot of us, and I'm going to be talking about how do I deal with it and how do I go by the process, because it's really a process, and it's really something that tests you. I feel like every single manifestation kind of tests your faith in the unseen, and this is why experimenting is really important. This is why like really going about it in a way that makes sense for you, in a way that resonates with you, is really really important. So yeah, so with faith, right, Neville always talks about this, and something that I always remind myself over and over and over again is this: God shall not be mocked, right? If you can see it in your mind, it has to happen. And that's something that I always remind myself, that God shall not be mocked. And what that means is that really, don't water down your manifestations. Don't ask when, or how is this all going to pan out, is it here yet? Don't be checking 3D, and really dwell in your imagination as much as you can, right? The confirmation that you seek is in your imagination. The confirmation is in the imagination, and that's something that I always 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 remind myself, right? That's the only confirmation that I truly need, and that I really need to see in order to push myself forward, right? Because at times this is really more of a marathon rather than a sprint for many of us, especially if you are beginning this journey, right? So what I will always say is that this is really where you plant yourself in your imaginal scenes, right? And you really keep going, and that's what I really do, is really plant myself in my imagination. And what does that mean? It means to dwell in it as often as I can, and I give it sensory vividness, as Neville would say. I would like, it's like, imagine you are wearing like a pair of VR goggles, for example, right? And you are like seeing all the surroundings and whatnot, and you really cement yourself in that imaginal scene, and you give it sensory vividness. Maybe like what kind of cologne or perfume are you wearing, or what kind of clothes are you wearing. Certain clothes have a bit of weight to it, right? A jacket, a leather jacket, or maybe a blazer or whatsoever, right? Feel that heaviness, right? Feel the weight of it. Maybe like what kind of a watch are you wearing that day? Are you drinking something that day? If so, if you have tasted it before, what does it taste like? Try to feel those things and give it sensory vividness, and really immerse yourself in those scenes and feel it as real as you can. And once you're out of it, as you're going by your life, remind yourself of it from time to time, and that's how you really keep that faith. And regardless of what you see in your 3D, you come at it from a place of knowing that your desires are already a done deal, and that what you are seeing in front of you right now is in some way somehow as crazy as it may be, is leading you to the fulfillment of your desire, right? That is how I deal with faith, and it's really through that sense of knowing. And and it's not, like, let's be honest here, it won't be always 100%, and you don't have to blame yourself for it, but just reminding yourself from time to time that this is like your vision is capable of completely happening in exactly the way you saw it, right? Never compromise your visions, never compromise your desires. Don't water it down because you don't see a way it can happen in the way you want it to, right? So for example, let's say you want to buy a car or something, right? And you wanted a red one. I'm sorry if you guys are hearing background noises, by the way. But let's say if you guys are wanting a car of sorts or whatsoever, right? And maybe like you want a red one, but the showroom, the car dealer maybe said like you guys are like only the available options are, oh my god. Okay, so the available options are maybe like dark gray or light gray, right? So but you want a red one, right? So you persist in that. So you really persist in that idea that you only have you are driving a red car out of that showroom, no matter what, right? In the 3D you may just tell the dealer, okay, cool, but I want a red car, and maybe he says, okay, I'll still look into it, but just be prepared to maybe get a gray or dark gray, and you're like, okay, cool. And then but in your mind you know for a fact that you are driving a red car out of the showroom. And what's going to happen? You are going to drive a red one out of the showroom for a fact, right? And even with Neville, right, the Barbados story, right? When Neville, or like the first, I think that was one of his first manifestations, if I'm not wrong. When he was going back to Barbados, right? Like they were like, okay, yes, you have a ticket from we have it all and whatnot, but you can only like travel in like steerage or third class, right? So if someone disembarks in the middle, you can go first class, right? Because all the first class are already taken. And he's like, okay, I'll take it, right? Because for him the most important thing is he has to go to Barbados, right? Regardless of if it was first class or whatnot. And he goes to tell Abdullah, like his mentor, like, okay, Ab, I'm so happy, I'm traveling to Barbados, it's in third class, but I'm still happy regardless, right? And here's what Abdullah said: who's going to Barbados? You went to Barbados and you went in first class. You see the level of conviction he had, right? Not only are you not going because you're already there, but you went there in first class, right? And that is essentially what like not watering down your dream looks like. And for a lot of people, like, make no mistake, this outright looks like being very delusional, right? And I don't blame any of them for that, right? If you are going in saying that you are winning the lottery, you are winning $1 million, you have to, right? Go into it with a level of conviction. That's the key for me, is to going into this with a level of conviction. And I'm going to be talking about how to develop it later down in the video. But you see the level of conviction he had, right? I'm talking about Abdullah with regards to Neville. And guess what happened, right? I think many of us know the story, but for those of you who don't, spoiler alert, right? Eventually, when he did go to board that ship, they said, like, we have a good news for you. Someone actually canceled. They are traveling, and you get to travel in first class 10 days, in and out. So, when you have that level of conviction, right, this has to happen, right? And for Neville's case, a lot of people say this, that actually Abdullah was the one who manifested him for that because he had such a level of conviction. Could be. So the bottom line is this, though: have that level of conviction. And how do you go about developing it, right? So one way I do it is by experimenting with little things, right? But the key thing that a lot of people say that, well, yes, I do that for little things like cars and whatnot, but the thing is that maybe I want to see like a specific color car, for example. That's one of my very famous Instagram posts that I made once. But the thing is, for big things, right, and I have to use quotation marks here, big things, right, it's not the same. Why? Because firstly, you are the one who labels it as big, and as a result you put a lot of limiting beliefs around it, right? So you put a lot of limiting beliefs around it, that maybe it's big and will I ever get it and whatnot, right? But to the universe, manifesting $1 and $1,000,000 is the same. Every manifestation is the same for the universe, right? And the universe is really your higher self, the God within you, right? It's your imaginal self, if you will, or your subconscious mind, and it's all the same for that. The only thing that's preventing that from coming in, say $1,000,000 compared to $1, is you thinking otherwise. It's as simple as that. And remind yourself that if you can see it in your mind, this has to happen, and that no manifestation is too big for you, right? So seeing the evidence in quote unquote small manifestation, or small victories, for example, right? Know that if it can happen for that, it can happen for this as well. And that's all you have to do, really, right? And a lot of people also talk about like what this person who sent me the video request said, give thanks to God. And what I would say is generally have a outlook of gratitude in general, not just with regards to the manifestation. Just look at around your life, like just having access to 3 meals a day and a roof over your head and access to clean water and basic amenities. That's something to be grateful for every single day. But then the question is, like, how many of us are actually grateful for those kinds of things? Probably not, in many ways, right? Because we don't think about it. We take that for granted in many ways, right? Job security, right? Especially right now with everything that's going on, that's something that a lot of people are grateful for right now. But maybe let's say in 2019, if you ask someone, maybe they wouldn't have thought about that either, right? So don't wait till those kinds of times to really be grateful for things. Be grateful for them right now. What it does is to develop a positive momentum, and to see that if all these good things can happen for me, right, like right now, so can this, what I'm manifesting right now. And another thing with regards to faith is that like a lot of people tend to doubt themselves or their self-worth and ask themselves, do they actually deserve this, even if it's capable of happening. All these kinds of things that I'm mentioning right now may not seem to relate to faith, but it does mess up people's mindset a lot. And that's why I'm really talking about this right now. And like, so what I would say for self-worth is you are worthy. Just the fact that you are existing right now, just the fact that you are breathing right now means you are worthy. That's it. Just go in with that. And again, dwell in your imaginal scenes more. And also a neat trick that I always employ is like inner conversations, right? So having inner conversations from the premise that this is already done, and going by that, and really having conversations in that way, from the perspective that it's already done, is a very nice way to go about like faith, right, with regards to your manifesting, right? So you may be talking about it to your friends, like I'm so sorry about the noise. I'll wait. Okay, so so having conversations with your friends, inner conversations, right? So like what I would do is maybe talking about it from the perspective of like, okay, maybe it's a month after I receive my desires, and I'm just bumping into a friend. What am I telling them? What are they telling me? Right? Are they congratulating me? If so, in what way? What are they saying? Are they proud of me? Is it someone who has seen me from the beginning? When I started this out, what is it like? Really draw out a very elaborate scenario and really have a conversation with your friend. And for people who say that maybe is this like very artificial or is this delusional, I would say it's not, because honestly, a lot of people are doing this all the time, even without realizing, but just in a very unconscious way. In a very unconscious way, in the sense that they are doing it. It's always there at the back end of their mind, and also it's always a very negative one. So all we are doing is to make this a very conscious activity, and to make it a pleasant one. And so these are things that we are always doing that we don't realize. So the trick is to then make it a conscious activity and to use it for our advantage. So that's all that we are doing. And also, I think reading up on success stories, so this is a more of a double-edged sword, because people always say like maybe they see success stories and they think like, okay, if it can happen for them, what am I doing wrong and everything. So it can go either ways, but I tend to use it as motivation. You can see it as birds before landing, which means that it's just a sign of what's to come for me right now. So that's how I perceive it, really. And yeah, so you can read success stories. Like, I think the Secret has a website where they talk about success stories. So you can like search up a keyword or something like that, and then success stories relating to that comes up. You can, I think, also post your success stories, if I'm not wrong. And you can read up on those. And I think, but what I always tend to rely on the most is my imaginal scenes. Like, bottom line, that's the key for me, and I continue to see it and I don't doubt it. Why? Because if all the past things can happen for me, and that's for me, right? If all the past things can happen for me, this has to happen too. Like, this is no different, right? I don't ask how, I don't add any complex equations to it, or I don't bring anything else that may potentially hinder my manifestations. And I refrain from discussing it with like a lot of people in my circle. um, you know and that's really a personal preference thing, because like sometimes you may want to discuss it with a few friends and stuff like that. But personally, I don't tend to discuss it with like a lot of my friends. I do discuss it with a couple of my friends for sure. And these are people who are in the same space as me, and someone who understands the law, so they wouldn't be in a discouraging state or whatsoever, right? They are more of your manifestation buddies. They are the ones who really push you and whatnot. Discussing it with those kinds of people are fine. But really, at the end of the day, like, I come back to me, right? So because you, at the end of the day, are the operant power and you are the creator of your reality. So knowing that, if you can see it in your mind, it already exists in the infinite parallel planes, and that it has to happen, like, that's the only confirmation you need. And that's really how you go about faith. Because it's not a very complicated thing, honestly. It's more of like adding in the need to know when, the need to know how, checking 3D, right? Don't check 3D. Because I'll be honest with you, like, the way I see it is, I spoke with some people about this, and one realization I had was, like, think of yourself like, as a very like lazy person, or like like someone like who is like the king, right? A king or a queen doesn't go out and do every single chore out there, right? They have servants to do it for them. They have people to execute their will in the kingdoms and whatnot. And if you see it that way, right, that's what the world is for us, because we are the gods and goddesses of our individual realities, where only we have free will. So like, everything will move the moment we think about it, right? Like, so in the sense that the moment we think of a desire, things have to shift. All the elements have to shift in order to for our desire to come to us. So we don't have to move a single thing in order for anything to happen in our 3D, and it will all happen by itself. So that's why we always say there's always movement behind the scenes, and there's always movement, if regardless of if we can see it or not. So just go, just have faith and keep going, right? That's why we say that, because there's always movement, because the higher self is always shifting elements behind the scenes to get our desires to us. And you can always see it that way. And if that's already going on, then why bother trying to check for it, right? Just go by your life, because this is it's already done, right? Like an Amazon package, right? You're not going to be worried about every single shipping container your package is going to be coming in, or every warehouse it's going to pass by, or you're not going to be worried about if the Amazon worker who's going to package your things is going to do it properly and whatnot, right? Those things aren't in your mind, because regardless, it's already yours, it's going to come in a good condition, right? And so on, right? If you can do that for that, then why are you overthinking for your desires? Because it's literally the same thing, right? It's literally the same thing. And the only thing that makes us feel different is our mind, right? Because the way we perceive it. So think of your desires like an Amazon package, right? Know that it's done, know that it's on route, keep going, right? You have ordered it, keep going. And that's something that you have to remind yourself over and over again. If anything, this game of manifesting is more about convincing yourself of this is already done, because you are the operant power, more so than anything else, right? If you can plant yourself firmly in the sense of knowingness that this is already yours, then congratulations, you have won the game. That's it, right? as insane as your manifestations may be, or as impossible as it may seem to you, you keep going. You keep going, because that's the only thing you need to do, right? So that's about it, guys, really. So to walk in faith, again, don't check 3D, right? Dwell in your imaginal scenes. Don't discuss it with a lot of people, right? Except your trusted manifesting buddies and whatnot, right? And you just keep going. That's it. That's all you have to do. And one more thing I like to add about 3D is that 3D may not show you the signs, and there's a lot of factors that you may not even consider, right? So I was talking to one of my lecturers about this, and he was saying about a certain manifestation that came to him, and he did not see it coming. And I wasn't even surprised, because there are so many factors that are beyond even like your thinking capacity that could potentially affect your manifestation. So don't even think about all those things. Like, think of your subconscious mind as like your financial manager, or your manager in general, right? It's managing all of the things in the back end for you, right? All you have to do is just place the order, sit back and relax and receive, right? That could be your motto right now: sit back, relax and receive, right? And you just go by your day, right? Think of yourself as the king and the queen that you actually are, and just ask for it and just relax and know that it's coming, right? Don't stress yourself out thinking about the how and the when and whatnot, because at the end of the day, when you look back after you have gotten your manifestation, at the time that you were potentially stressing out, you would be like, oh my god, I wish I could have relaxed, right? I wish I could have relaxed. And that's the regret that I don't want you guys to have, is knowing that this is already done, stressing all that time, right? And thinking like, I wish I could have relaxed. So don't do that to yourself, right? So enjoy the process, right? With the sense of going to the world knowing that this is already yours, going to the world knowing that you're already a millionaire, that you are knowing that you are going to have that life with your SP, that you deserve and whatnot, and enjoy, right? And before you know it, everything's already knocking on your door, and you are living the life that you desire. So guys, we have come to the end of this video. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so that you will know when I upload a new video every single week. Guys, stay safe and happy manifesting. Peace.